Hello everyone, my name is Susan Morales and my YouTube channel explores what it means to follow Jesus in an everyday kind of way. Please subscribe to see more videos about that kind of topic. Today I have a different kind of video. I was asked on my community comments what I have learned as a YouTuber and what are some things that you might do differently. And I thought, you know what, that would be a good topic for a video. I have lots to say, I have learned a lot, and so that's what today's video is going to be about. I actually have written down 7 things that I want to share with you. And I'm going to do my best to say these things within a 10-minute time frame. So if you see me looking that direction, I'm looking at the clock. Okay, I'm sure I might forget some things that I've learned, but these are just the top things that came to mind right now. So lesson number 1, I've learned the importance of being a Berean. In the Bible, there is a reference to these Christians that they did not just accept Paul's teachings, words. They actually went to the scriptures and looked to see if what he was telling them was supported by scripture. And I think that when I first started making YouTube videos, and when I first started becoming active here on YouTube, learning about different YouTubers, different channels, Christian in particular, I wasn't aware that you need to not just see who sounds the most reliable, the most biblical, who is providing more reasons for what they're saying, but you are supposed to be like them. You are supposed to look through scripture for yourself, not just take their word for it, but actually go to scripture and see if what they are saying is actually supported by scripture. And a lot of the times what you'll find is that we have a lot of biases. We have a way of interpreting scripture sometimes because we have presuppositions. So we might want something to be true, and then we'll just go to scripture and look for whatever sounds like it supports what we want to be true. And then, but when you actually go and study and look at different commentaries, different translations, put a lot of hermeneutic work into it. When you do that, you might find that, oh, the person that offered this scripture as support for their view, I'm not sure that they used it correctly, because here the context is actually talking about something bigger or about this time in history, and not so much about the things that we're dealing with in our time in history and so forth. So definitely learned that we should not just rely solely on someone else's Bible study. Okay, number 2. Lesson number 2 is I've learned that it's okay to disagree, and that we are free to think what we want. Sometimes we approach Christianity like, let me find what is the thing that the Bible teaches. And that's great. That is a good thing to do. But what I mean is, sometimes we fail to realize that there are some things that we're not going to have complete knowledge about on this side of eternity. Some things we're going to find out eventually if we were right about. And so it's important to have intellectual humility and intellectual honesty about what the actual Christian scholarly world looks like. So you have all of these scholars, and not just during our time here, but throughout history, that have put forth their arguments for why they believe their interpretation is actually the biblical interpretation, the actual intention of the authors of the Bible, and what God was speaking through them, communicating through them for us. It's important to be aware. It's okay to disagree with someone else that holds to another view, especially when it comes to secondary issues. There are some things that are not secondary issues, and we do not get to disagree with those things and still call ourselves Christians. For example, that Jesus is God. That's definitely a deal breaker, but there are other things that we can disagree on. For example, end times, like women's roles, men's roles in the church, in marriage, topics like that. It's important to remember it's okay to disagree, and you don't have to convince someone else of your position. You can just have peace with where you land. Sorry if there's a lot of noise in the background. I have 4 minutes to finish this video, so please forgive the lawnmowers in the background. I'm going to try to come closer to my microphone here. Okay, lesson number 3. I'm going to go faster. YouTubers are not perfect Christians, okay? That's something that at first you're a little starstruck by some of these favorite Bible teachers out there, and we become fans and we defend them on the comment section. And ultimately, as a YouTuber myself, it's helped me to realize, hey, YouTubers are vulnerable to excessive compliments and popularity. It does something to people. And the best thing you can do is be aware of those things happening in your life and work those things out with the Lord, and have good accountability people in your life that won't make you feel like a celebrity, but that will always be honest with you and challenge you to grow. And, if you do something wrong, that they'll be like, hey, that was wrong, And also greed. Greed is such a temptation for YouTubers, because there is that association with money. You make videos, you can make money. You can even support your household if you're really good at it. So it's important for Christian YouTubers to remember that shouldn't be what drives us to create Christian content. I think it's a benefit. If you work really hard, that's great. You deserve to be compensated for your time. But for that to be the driving force and the motivation for making Christian content, I think that's wrong. If you want to do that on other topics, I see nothing wrong with that. If you want to make a video about gardening or whatever, hey, that's totally fine. But when Christian content is involved, I think we need to see it more as a ministry. And I think I'm going to talk about that a little later. So let's move on to lesson number 4. This one, I think not everyone struggles with this, but for me personally, it's something that I need to be more careful about. And that is to realize that not every YouTuber is your friend. Even when they say, my friends, blah, 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 blah. And you're like, oh, wow, they consider me a friend. People use that word very lightly, I think. And to me, I've always had a really deep definition of what a friend is, and I think that's something that I've had to learn here, that you may treat someone like your friend. You may tell them that you see them as your friend. You may even think of them as your friend. You treat them in a way that you wouldn't treat a a stranger on YouTube. Okay, you have this trust with that person. You assume that they think the best of you, and you think the best of them. But it can actually be something that is one way only. And that can be really hurtful when you learn it the hard way. Sometimes someone might be treating you like a friend, for example, when you interview them, and then later on, like, they just disappear, can't help but feel a little used, things like that. So it's very important for us to be guarded, is what I've learned now, unfortunately. So literally everyone that has ever called me their friend, that's a YouTuber friend, now there's like this, wait a minute, they have to prove that they're your friend. In difficult times, in good times, that's when you show that you are a friend. And then there is this thing also that there's a barrier that's unique to me as a woman, not with other women YouTubers, but with other men YouTubers. I've noticed that there is a lot more communication, with other YouTuber men amongst themselves, partnerships, things like that. But I've noticed that I could never be that. I could never have those benefits like a man can, and that's okay. That's completely fine, but that is something that I've learned. Obviously, this video is probably going to be longer than 10 minutes, so let me just try to finish as quick as possible. So lesson number 5. I've learned that it's important to be unique, even if it doesn't grow your channel. And even if it's, you're not following the example of other Christian YouTubers that have successfully grown to like hundreds of thousands of subscribers. It's been a decision of mine to not change who I am, my personality, the way I think it's important for me to come across on this channel in order to communicate the message that I'm trying to communicate. If my channel is all about learning to follow Jesus in an everyday kind of way, then for me, I found that it's important to show you, be a little transparent, not everything, right? Because that wouldn't be wise, but to be as transparent as possible about my everyday life, my challenges, my struggles, the things I've learned, my strengths, so that I can be relatable to you, and you can be relatable to me, and we can grow together in this journey. Iron sharpens iron. I share something on here, you share something with me in the comments, and it's give and take, and God can use it all. So if I were to just hide my everyday life from you, then my purpose on here wouldn't be effective. So to be more specific, in the beginning, when I started to make apologetics videos, I had bought the lights, the purple lights, or whatever, the lights that they sell. And so, because other apologists were doing it, so I went and I purchased the lights. Not saying something's wrong if you use lights, but it's just the way other YouTubers did it. And so it took a little thinking about it. Wait, I don't need lights. I could just be here in my living room, and that's okay. Another thing, like topics. If I wanted to grow, probably I would have just stuck to reaction videos of whatever people are talking about on YouTube, whatever they want to find on YouTube. And I guess that's okay if that's what you feel that you bring and offer to the church, and you do it in a good way. But for me, I personally felt like God didn't want me to just do those kind of videos. So I had to just follow where I felt God was leading me. And then also being unique in that you don't just follow what other successful ministries are doing in how you portray yourself. I almost feel like there is this professional, which is okay, but then it kind of goes into the territory of like a celebrity persona where you show no weaknesses, you hide your weaknesses. Like if you deal with, like for example, mental health issues, that is the secret that goes with you and stays with you, and you only share that with a few people. And I think that's okay for some people, because honestly, there's a lot of Christians that will feel that that discredits you, and they won't follow you if they learn that about you, that you have a weakness and that you're not strong like them. But like I said, for my channel, I think it's important to share my weaknesses appropriately, right? Um, uh, because there are other people that deal with the same weaknesses every day, and they need to hear about how someone is helped by God throughout their day-to-day life. So also, the celebrity persona might have no flaws. Like I said, no weaknesses, but like no flaws. Like you never say the wrong thing ever. And so you just defend yourself. You defend your actions. Another thing, like it goes with it, like you're never wrong. Like even if you made a video where you said something that's wrong and later on you realize, oh, like I was wrong about how I interpreted that scripture. Like some people might never like address it or delete it, and so that's part of that celebrity persona, right? Like I never make any mistakes. My judgments are always right. And I think that's a bad example for your viewers, right? So also, like you're out of reach. You're just too busy. Your life is just too busy to make any time. Here's the next one. You only make time for popular people that are going to help your content grow as a YouTuber. And that one is huge for me because I get that we all have very busy lives. I don't know who isn't busy, honestly. Like, who has extra time, really? Not just YouTubers. We're busy, but everybody is busy. And I just think that we need to follow Jesus' example and the teachers in the New Testament that made time for individuals. It wasn't about them growing their ministry. So let me go to the largest gatherings. It was wherever there was an opportunity that God brought to them. You are faithful to the Lord and you serve the Lord by making time for that individual that will give you nothing really in return for your time as far as it comes to like growing your YouTube ministry. All right, here's another one. Number 6. Lesson number 6. Deal rightly with rejection. There's a lot of rejection that happens in the comment section, when I request interviews, and so there's a lot that can go on. Oh, they probably didn't accept me because agree to come on with me because blah 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 blah. So what's been helpful for me is to pray about it when I submit an email requesting for someone. Now I pray about it, and I include that if this person says no to me, help me not to take it hard, the rejection. And so, I've done so many interviews that it's a huge part of my experience as a YouTuber. And the last one is number 7, growing in weaknesses. And in particular, like personality, things that you might feel are your weakness. For example, you have Moses, right? God was calling him to go and speak to the Pharaoh, and he's like, I can't. I don't know how to speak. And he didn't realize, hey, the God that made your mouth is going with you. You're going to be fine. And anyway, sometimes we might approach YouTube in the same way. Like, I am not a gifted communicator like all these other people. And that might be the case, but we can grow. We can get better at things as we do it on YouTube. If God calls you to do something, like, God has given you the ability to do this, the ideas, inspiration to create Christian content, then be okay with your weaknesses. There might be something that God knows He put in you that you might not be aware of. I had someone tell me, like, who knew that you had this talent of interviewing people? Because people often just see the outside, right? And they just think, oh, you're such a shy, quiet person. Like, you would never, like, be good at, like, talking to other people. And so that's been something that God has taught me, that I had this huge hunger to learn, and I had this opportunity through YouTube. Like, thanks to you guys, to my subscribers, you guys helped me to be considered by people that maybe I would have never had an opportunity to have a conversation with. And so God has been really good to me in that area through YouTube, that I had this desire to learn more about God, and I had this desire to share with you what I'm learning.
I can see your love now. I can see how you gave your son for me. I can see your love now. I can see how you died for my place. I can see your love now. You're coming back for me someday.